عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is grade 12 advanced cluster A for the English revision by Mr. Ramadan Freya. For this cluster, first we have a look at the part of the exam. If we look, we see that cluster A is about narrative and functional. It deals with two things. First, we have 4 parts in the test. These 4 parts consist of number 1 is the listening functional. You are going to listen to about 2 or 3 minutes functional English. It has 5 MBC questions for 5 marks. Then you are going to listen to part B, the narrative, a story. You are going to listen to a story and it has 8 MBC questions. Then the second part is the reading. Reading number A is the functional. You are going to read a letter, one of the letters, and it has 3 MBC questions. Reading number B is about narrative, the story, and it has 4 MBC questions, multiple choice questions, and 3 CR questions. The third part of the test is the use of language, 10 sentences, grammar, and vocabulary. 5 sentences for the grammar you have in the cluster, and 5 sentences for the vocab. The last part in the test is the writing part. You are going to write 2 writing prompts. Number 1 is writing functional letters. You have 3 kinds of letters, and you are going to have 2 letters, then you choose one to write about, and it has 3 marks. Writing number B, you are going to write a story, a narrative. You are going to have 2 stories and you choose one to write about. This is the narrative. This is the last part of the test. As you can see, we have hyperlink here to deal with each part of the test. We'll have a look at each part and see how the questions are going to be. Let's look at the listening. Number 1, listening functional. As I said before, you are going to listen to functional about a meeting, something related to business, and you are going to have 5 MBC questions like this. What is the main idea of the lecture? If it is a lecture, he is going to ask you about the main idea, the main purpose. When you listen, focus on the names, places, dates, numbers. When he sees this in the listening, he is going to ask you about it, about the main idea, about percentage if you have that like this, and the feeling. Focus also on the feeling of the narrator. The people are in the listening. When you listen, you focus on how do they feel, because he may ask you about their feelings. So in the first part of the listening, it will be functional like this. And the second part, the listening to the story. Okay, you are going to listen to a story. And in stories, you are going to focus on the narrator, the feeling of the narrator, how the point of view he is telling the story from. Is it first person or third person or whatever? And what are the characters in the story? He may ask me about the feeling like this. What was the hunter feeling when he left his tribe? And he may ask me some questions like how, when, WH questions. That's very easy. All the questions in the listening for part A and B are in order. So when you miss a question, do not wait for answer, because you are not going to have it. Go to the second question. Okay. Now about the reading. The reading functional like this. I will have a sample reading functional. It's a letter, and one of the famous questions that come when you have a letter like this are what kind of letter, what type of letter do we have here? If we look at this sample, and I'll make it large like this. You know that we have the formal kind of letters, so we start with "Dear Mr. Chan, I'm a system engineer," and he is telling some information about himself. He is considering to use the newly released semiconductors. We need more detailed information. We need more detailed information. So this is not a complaint, not an application. It's requesting information. The sender of this letter needs information about these things: the discount, the unit price, the delivery, terms of payment, and the warranty. So when he asks me this question, what kind of letter is this? It is not thank you letters, complaint letter, application letter, asking for information letter. If you go back to the letter, you will see that he is asking for something. He needs some information, so it's asking for information letter. Also, we have questions like this: which information is not needed? If you go back to the table he is asking for, he needs the discount, the unit price, the delivery, the terms of payment, and the warranty. So the thing that's not needed means that it's not there. It's not there in the table. He does not need that piece of information. So we look at this and we go to that question. Okay, the quality of the unit, how much this is the price. Discount is there. Time of delivering is there. So the quality of the unit is the part that's not needed. And look at that word. It's bold because he wants you to take care of that word. Not needed, because he needs many things there. And what sentence best fits as a formal ending of the letter? So we need to know this is a formal letter. We need to know what sentence of this could be put in the end. So this is the first part of the reading, and it has, as we see, 3 MSE questions. Then we go to the narrative, the most important part in the reading, because it has 4 MSE questions and 3 CR. It's 10 marks. So the questions here are very, very important. We need to know the CR and the MSE. It's from the reading narrative. It's a story. You are going to read a story like this. As you can see, we have this information about the story before you start reading. I advise you to read this carefully before you start, because it gives you more information about what you are going to read about. The battle between good and bad is always there. Good deeds always win the never-ending battle against evil. Read and see how this is applicable to our story. So this story is about good and bad. You know from the first sentence that the story is about the conflict, the battle between good and bad. So you have an idea about what you are going to read about. What is important in the narrative story is the point of view and the question related to this point of view. If we have a look at the questions, which point of view will the story told from? This is very important. This is very important. We have first person, second person, third person limited, and third person omniscient. So, how to answer these questions? I look at the story. If I find the pronouns I or we, that's first person. So, if I find the pronoun I or we, I choose number A because it's the first person point of view. And if I find he or she, that's third person. And if I find you or your, that's second person. If we look here, what is this? Yes, it's he. So it's very clear that the point of view here is the third person. Okay? And we have many other questions related to the narrative. Like this, what is the main purpose of the story? What is the main purpose of the story here? To persuade, to entertain, to inform, to tell about the dwarfs. We have stories are always there to give us pleasure, to entertain us. So when you have a question like this, think of the entertainment, the pleasure the story gives us, so it's to entertain the reader. Then we have a question like this, it's very important. I need you to look carefully at this. Here he is asking about the pronoun, the reference. What does the underlined pronoun refer to? This word. When you find a question like this, you see that always it refers to someone or something before it. It comes before, in the previous sentence, in the sentence earlier to that. So when we have knowing about this, the queen felt very angry. Then she refers to the queen. So the answer here will be number C. How do I know that she refers to the queen? Because the pronoun always goes back in the sentence, not forward. So who is there? It's only the queen. We don't have the hunter or Snow White or the mother. We don't have it there. So she goes back to it refers to the queen. Then we have questions like, who told the queen that Snow White was still there? And you can go back to the narrative and get the answer. What is very important about the CR is he always, or maybe he always asks you about the feeling of some of the narrative. So try when you are reading the narrative, starting from the first paragraph, to underline the words that refer to the feeling of the characters, because he may ask you questions like this: what was the queen feeling? And take care of something in the CR questions. In these questions, we have 2 marks for each question. So you are going to write 2 pieces of information like that. What was the feeling toward the Snow White? So she hates her. This is the feeling. And why? You must mention a reason. Why does she hate her? Because if you put just the feeling, she hates her, that's 1 mark. And the reason will be the 2nd mark. So this is about the reading passage. We have 3 CR questions. 2 marks, that will be 6 marks. Now, after reading, so we have looked at the listening function number 1, the second listening and reading, the letter 3 marks, and the narrative reading. So we are going to write to look at the use of language. The use of language, we have 10 questions like this. Here we have some rules that you started, like the if conditional, and I'll have just a quick look at some of the rules that we have. Like if conditional, you have 2nd and 3rd conditional here. If he, heart, he, would, when. When you have would, that means that the 2nd conditional, just would plus infinitive. So the tense here will be the past tense. Where is the past tense here? Past simple tense, it's played. So if you look at number 2, if she had seen, this is past perfect. This is 3rd conditional. If you look at this, when I have that, had seen, that would be 3rd conditional, would have plus PP, and this is number C. So try to look at the sentence, what part of if he gives you and what part is he asking you to choose from. Okay? And okay, the last part of the test is writing. Writing. You are going to write Just 1 minute. You are going to write two topics. The first one is the functional. You are going to have two letters and you are going to choose one to write about, and this for 3 marks. Like you have three parts, three kinds of letters to choose. You have the complaint letter, letter of complaint, letter of application, and requesting information. Okay, like this. You are going to have something like the situation and the task. You read first the situation because it's very important. It gives you information about what you are going to write about, and this is the task, what he needs you to do. He asks, write a letter of complaint to the manager of the hypermarket discussing so and so. So try to read first the situation, then the task. The last part is the writing narrative. When you are going to write a narrative, you are going to have two stories like this. Also, we have a situation and task. Write the story of a holiday that you cannot forget. Something happened to you and you cannot forget. It's unforgettable. And you have another one, another topic like this. Write the story about a decision that changed your life. And you are going to choose one of these two stories to write about. Okay? And finally, this is very important in writing your story. You must have the exposition, the start. Then you go up with your actions to reach from action writing actions to go to the climax. That's the most important part of the story. And then you go back using the following action with the resolution. Also, you try to use the figurative language when you write, simile, metaphor, personification. The narrative techniques are very important because he may ask you what narrative techniques the writer used. Flashback means he is talking about the past. He remembered what happened when he was young, something like that. Foreshadowing, to talk about the future. He may ask you which paragraph has a foreshadowing technique. Cliffhanger, when he didn't give you an end for the story. Okay, and this is what we call open end. Cliffhanger means open end. He doesn't tell you what happened at the end. He leaves it for your imagination. Direct speech makes the story very vivid and very lively. Okay, and the last one, you have these kinds of letters to look at: the sample, complaint letter, information, and the application letter. So this is just a quick view of the advanced test for cluster A for grade 12, and you have to write and to start from the listening part, take each part carefully. Thank you.